Thank you. And so let's go to our panel on those particular exit polls. Pat, I was struck there, half of them evangelicals. This is a very conservative electorate on the Republican side in Louisiana.
Well, Louisiana is really a divided state. You go north into the Protestant Huey Long area, up there, Shreveport, over to Monroe as they call it, and then it's very Protestant, but then you come south into Cajun country and toward New Orleans, and it's heavily Catholic. That's right. I would expect Huckabee to do well up there in the north and McCain to do better down in the south, quite frankly, because it looks like a very tight race right now.
What does it say, given that we've already had the results out of Kansas, where Mike Huckabee beat John McCain, and in Louisiana, where it's very, very close, too close for us to call here at NBC News? Is that a warning sign for McCain?
I think it's a warning sign for the party, and the party is going to want to do something about this before it goes much further, because it is a rejection of the presumptive nominee by a sizable chunk of committed activist Republicans, of the Republican base that you really need.
They said if Huckabee got out, Romney could win. Now Romney got out, and Huckabee seems to be moving ahead. What that tells you is there always was a huge anti-McCain vote, and now it's coalescing around Mike Huckabee, and he's the beneficiary of it.
Well, is it that they are coalescing, or we're talking about very conservative electorates, a very conservative electorate in Kansas and a very conservative electorate, 70% identifying themselves as conservative in Louisiana. That's more conservative than some of the other, I remember, exit polling that we'd seen even in some of the other states.
Yeah, well, once you get out of the Northeast corridor and things like that, the Republican Party is a conservative party. Very conservative party, and conservatives are usually favored. I mean, in the Bush-McCain race, I mean, McCain had all those credentials. He was more in his prime, and George Bush beat him because the conservatives rallied to him.
And it's hard to see that segment of the vote as anything but an anybody but McCain kind of vote, because one assumes that a lot of those votes would have gone to Mitt Romney, for example, a couple of weeks ago. Or
Rachel, is that going to be the headline tomorrow, that Huckabee surprises again, that McCain has been hurt? I'm reading the Associated Press wire. I was struck by this. They say John McCain flunked his first ballot test since becoming the Republican nominee, in part because he lost Kansas. That's not a good thing.
No, I mean, if the headlines are responsible tomorrow, what they should probably say is Huckabee lives, and Republicans still aren't turning out. I mean, if you look at the Kansas turnout today compared to the Democrats, in Kansas they didn't vote on the same days. We have already had the Democrats turnout. Today was the Republicans. The Republican turnout was about half what the Democratic turnout was. In Kansas. So yes, they're voting against the guy who everybody is saying is going to get the nomination, is the presumptive nominee. They're voting for a guy who everybody's telling them has no chance of getting the nomination. But mostly, they're just not voting. The Republican electorate is depressed, both literally and figuratively.
All right, the panel is staying with